All right. Thanks for staying with us with the Nick and Joe Show, folks. Segment 2 straight ahead. And as always, we have much meat on the table. I'm going to let Joseph explain the intricacies of this, but the Liberals dodged a huge bullet. The Conservatives, because the Liberals wanted to, wasn't prorogue, but shut down Parliament, to avoid the Wee scandal investigation, they said if we'd rather our government fall than allow the Conservatives to win on this issue and to force us into an investigation on the Wee scandal. And the NDP, like the good little creatures they are, supported them. So they ducked a major bullet. It was a confidence. They considered this a confidence vote. And had it gone against the minority government, we would be going to the polls. They were willing to take that chance, and of course, maybe it wasn't that big a chance, Joseph. I don't know what you think, but maybe they knew that the NDP were going to save their bacon in the end anyway.
NDP
I think it's outrageous behavior.
NDP and I believe the Green Party as well. I don't think that the NDP and the Liberals alone together have the votes to win a vote in the House of Commons. Kind of, it wasn't just the Wee scandal. There was a motion to set up a committee to investigate ethical violations. I'm paraphrasing, but ethical violations by the current government of Justin Trudeau, and the motion was put forward or tabled by the Conservative Party. The Conservative is the opposition party here in Canada, I don't know whether was the right thing to do or not. It's but the question is moot whether or not striking such a committee in Parliament, whether or not it was the right move or not. That's a moot question because, as you say, Nick, the Liberals were able to dodge the bullet. They decided to say, look, we're going to treat this vote on this motion as a question of confidence in the government. And as a matter of principle, there is a certain logic to that when you think about it, okay? You're thinking, okay, these guys are corrupt. The Liberals are corrupt, at least that's what the Conservatives are saying. So we're going to have a vote on creating a parliamentary committee to study their corruption. Well, if they're so corrupt, and by the way, for your listeners out there who hear that, that's Nick furiously typing away on his laptop in the background. And,
I'm trying to be gentle.
No, and well, he can't. But Nick, okay, let's just be honest, okay? When it comes to the subject of the Liberals and corruption, you can't be gentle. Okay?
There, I will agree with you. It goes against my grain.
It totally goes against your grain. Anyway, so there's a certain logic in the approach that the Liberals took in this, okay? And that is to say, look, if you're going to vote to form a parliamentary committee to investigate corruption in our government, essentially what you're doing is you're saying our government is corrupt, in which case you might as well be voting to kick us out of office. Let's have an election and let's see what the people of the country say. I'm not defending what the Liberals did here, okay? Let me make that clear. I'm just saying that from a parliamentary procedural point of view, there is a certain logic to the approach that they took. And of course, once you put it in those terms, once you say, okay, we're going to treat this as a confidence vote, so if you want us to go to an election, then you vote for this motion, okay? And now that changes the dynamic for all of the parties, because now they have to make a calculation. Do we think our position vis-a-vis the country is strong enough, our electoral position is strong enough, that by going to the polls now we are going to gain as opposed to lose seats. And I think that the Liberals and the Conservatives, when they look at the polling that's out there right now, when they look at the electoral math, when they do the calculation, they come back and say, I think I have a good chance, if I run a good campaign, of making gains. And so I'm prepared to go to an election. That would be both the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party that are kind of running. It's not right to say neck and neck. Depends on what polls you look at, but I think that there's a real, the calculation that either party would have made in this case would be, I think I can improve our parliamentary position through a general election. And for the Liberals that are close to a majority, relatively close to majority territory anyway, that's not as big a deal as you might think. So yeah, that's the calculation. But the other parties, there are three other parties, okay? There's the Bloc Québécois, there's the NDP, and there's the Green Party. And all of those three parties now have to ask themselves the same question. Will we win more seats if we go to an election now? Or will we lose seats if we go to an election now? And now that's the calculation that they make. And clearly the NDP and I guess the Green Party, that they had to make that calculation. They said, we're not ready to go to an election. And if we go to an election now, we're going to lose seats. And so we're prepared to continue to maintain and sustain this government, even if we think they've acted unethically. Now, here's the other thing I'll say, just Nick, in response to one thing that you said. You were kind of implying that maybe it was a toss-up. Maybe the Liberals weren't 100% sure. Are the NDP going to vote with us or against us? I guarantee you they were having fast and furious conversations behind closed doors about whether or not they were going to support the Liberal government or not, and whether or not they, that is to say, Jagmeet Singh and the NDP, and even the Green Party, whether or not they could extract certain concessions, certain promises from the governing Liberals in order to get their vote. That kind of horse trading goes on in a minority parliament particularly all the time. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's a reflection of our representative democracy. Remember, we elect. I was in a debate with somebody earlier today where they kept on referring to us as electing the prime minister. And finally I had to say, we don't actually elect a prime minister here. We are a representative democracy, and a person becomes the prime minister by virtue of the fact that they are the elected leader of the political party that has the most seats in the House of Commons. And so you could make the argument that being the prime minister is more of an appointed position from a constitutional point of view than it is an elected position. We elect our local representatives, and we elect them presumably because we have trust in their integrity. Here's that integrity of their ethics.
There's that word again.
That character, that they're going to do what's in the best interests of the country, at least in the context of their beliefs that they've promulgated during an election campaign. So, yes, I know people vote these days thinking, I'm going to vote for the Liberals because I want Trudeau to be the Prime Minister, or I'm going to vote for the Conservatives because I want Erin O'Toole to be the next Prime Minister, or because I like the Liberal platform, or I like the Conservative platform. And those are factors, I don't deny them, but ultimately when you go in and you mark your ballot, you're voting for your local representative. And ultimately, if you focus on that and you're electing people, as I said in the previous segment, with integrity and with strength of character, and then people that you believe are going to bring a particular program and support a particular policy program, okay, those are the people you want representing you, whoever, irrespective of who the prime minister is.
Yeah, and it's. I'm glad you pointed that out, because you're right. A lot of people fall into that trap about, well, I want so and so to be the prime minister, and a lot of times they'll say, well, they'll take the other tack. I like your party, I like what it stands for, but I don't like your leader, so I'm not going to vote for you, even though the leader doesn't. It's depending on these. What am I trying to say here? You've got people, delegates, and so on, and platform policies that get put out by delegates. They're not handpicked by the prime minister or the leader. He may have his pet issues, but generally speaking, the person who is saying that doesn't understand that it's not up to the premier or the prime minister or even the mayor, depending on the level of government you're talking to. They may have an agenda, they may bring it forward, but ultimately the party tries to govern on the platform that they were elected for. At least that's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
So,
although
there's two sides to that, is my point.
Right. Although we do, in our system of government, we do elect mayors directly. We do have, when we do a municipal election.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
We do elect our
right.
local councillor, and we do vote for our mayor as well. But we don't do that in the Westminster parliamentary system, which is how we're governed here in Canada, and how a number of other democracies are governed around the world. So I really want to stress this, and I don't want to be too redundant or too repetitive here, but I hear a lot of people complain all the time about how backbenchers they go along their trained seals. It's the prime minister or the party leader, the party has too much power, etc. And if only we could come up with a way of writing a party constitution or changing rules in parliament, etc., that would make backbenchers more powerful, that we would take away or neuter or restrict the power of the leader of a political party or the party itself or whatever. If only we could do that, then, so many of our problems would disappear. And, when I hear this, I say, look, the problem is not a systemic problem. Whatever system you have, you're going to have problems in it, okay? We're human beings. Human beings are fundamentally flawed in a lot of ways. We try our best, trial and error largely, and hopefully we're going to get it right as possible. But whatever system we're going to have is going to have flaws in it, and it's going to have the ability of people who are not necessarily very ethical, okay, to take advantage of whatever powers they're given in our political system to do things that are unethical, that are dishonest, that are wrong, okay? So change the system all you want. You're still going to have problems because your focus is in the wrong area. You're trying to change the system. The issue isn't the system. The issue is the people that you're electing to work within that system. And if you want to neuter, I use that term very cautiously because I don't believe that you should really want to neuter the power of a government. But you want to constrain it. You want to put a box around it. And how you do that, yes, you can do some of that constitutionally through rules, Nick, but mostly it's a question of the strength of character of the members that you're electing who are going to sit either at the cabinet table if they happen to be in cabinet, or in the case of the vast majority of members of parliament, they're going to be in opposition or they're going to be in the backbenches of a government. And so, if only we were focused on electing members of parliament that had strong character, okay, who are prepared to stand up in a caucus meeting and say, I'm going to vote against this if it comes to the floor of the House of Commons because I think that's in the best interests of my constituents, and I think it's in the best interests of the country, and I think that it's consistent if I vote against this measure that you're proposing, if you happen to be